Hey everybody, welcome back to Jay's Fifth Down the Football Podcast. I'm your host, Shane Gay, here today to recap some of week one, mainly Monday Night Football with the Broncos and the Seahawks, and we'll also get into Chargers and Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. We'll talk about that, and Nathaniel Hackett, questionable coaching decision last Monday night against the Seahawks. We'll get into that a little bit, and that whole ordeal of Russ returning to Seattle and the game not going in their favor as far as Denver is concerned, but lots to look upon and preview as we head into week two of the 2022 NFL season. Can't believe it's already here. We've made it, guys. But before we get started, please make sure you like, subscribe, check us out here on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. That's where we're at. Audio version will be dropping first, and then the video version will be dropping later on. So just be on the lookout for that. So the Seahawks and the Broncos played Monday Night Football in Seattle at Lumen Field. Russell Wilson, returning to the place where he's called home for almost 12 years, 12 years, won a Super Bowl there, went to 2 Super Bowls. He came back, and first thing, he got booed once he came into the stadium. He got booed, and of course, the game started out well for the Broncos. They were able to get the ball moving to the tight ends, and Russell Wilson did not throw it to a wide receiver until later in the game to Jerry Jeudy, which happened to be the only touchdown of the game, like a 60-something yard touchdown to Jeudy, but he did not target any wide receivers before that. All the passes were going to tight ends, so it's obvious that Nathaniel Hackett, former Packers offensive coordinator, wants to incorporate the tight ends into the mix here in Denver. Is what it's seeming like. So he wants to use the tight ends a lot, get those different packages out there, run 2 tight end sets, 3 tight end sets sometimes, and involve the play action. But the Seattle had a great game plan for that. Obviously, Pete Carroll, knowing Russell Wilson, forced him to move to his left a good portion of the game, and that's where Russell was having a little bit of his troubles. They were able to get home on some pressures a little bit. Defensively, Denver was able to get home. Patrick Nwosu got Russell Wilson for a sack one play, and it just overall wasn't a good offensive output for the Broncos in the first game. Low scoring game, though. It was a battle defensively, so it was good. If you like defense, this was your type of game. It was a 17-16 game. Geno Smith, however, finished 23-28 for 2 touchdowns, no picks, 195 yards. He had a great game. Rashad Penny led all ball carriers with 12 carries and 60 yards on the ground. And for Denver's side, Russell Wilson went 29-42 for 340 yards and 1 touchdown, no picks. So those are the 2 quarterbacks here. Geno Smith played really well. He really, he had great poise in the pocket, and he was able to deliver downfield on his throws. Involved multiple pass catchers in the game, so it was really nice to see him step in and start for the first time in a while and come in and get the win for the Seattle Seahawks. Pete Carroll obviously trusts him, even though they traded for Drew Lock in that whole Russell Wilson trade, he made Geno the starter. He was obviously impressed by what Geno was able to do in his couple of games that he played last year for the Broncos, starting for the Seahawks, starting for Wilson after he hurt his thumb. He came in and impressed, and then this was a big competition over the whole offseason and training camp. It was like Locke versus Smith, who was going to win out, and Geno Smith ended up winning the competition. He gets the win for the Seahawks. Now we're going to talk about how necessarily they got the win. Not so much to do with the Seattle themselves, but the Broncos and Nathaniel Hackett. Late in the game, the Broncos were down, and they're trying to win this game. It's late. It's 4th down and 5. Nathaniel decides the offense stay on the field until Nathaniel Hackett called a timeout, and they decide to trot the kicker out. So they send the kicker out for a 64-yard field goal on 4th and 5. Mind you, you have Russell Wilson, a perennial quarterback, Hall of Famer, potential Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champion, on your sideline. It's 4th and 5, and you don't go for it. You kick a 64-yard field goal, the longest in NFL history. It's very questionable to me when seeing that play call there with Nathaniel Hackett and the Broncos. It didn't make much sense, and he's been getting a lot of backlash for it in the NFL media, and deservingly so, because that was a very, very questionable call to send out your kicker on a 4th and 5 on a 64-yard field goal when you have Russell Wilson 4th and 5. I mean, you can get 5 yards. You know what I mean? It's talented of a play caller as Hackett is. I mean, you work with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. I mean, you know, like there's no reason you shouldn't be able to get 5 yards. You know, there's no reason you shouldn't be able to get 5 yards. You know, you should get 5 yards and convert that first down. And, you know, I mean, it didn't make sense, you know, and it baffled my mind. It baffled a lot of people's minds, but the Broncos go for the kick anyway, and they miss it. It goes wide left, and there was a joke going around today. It was like, you know, Broncos country, let's ride. And now they were saying this Broncos country left wide because the kick went left wide and missed. And so, yeah, I mean. And of course, they talked to the players about it. Talked to Russell Wilson after the game. He's like, you know, I trust my coaches, and you know, of course, the things Russell would say. We just, you know, we couldn't get much done. They had our number pretty much, and you know, we end up in that situation, and we missed the play to win the game. You know, that simple. That's what he said, and you know, talked to Pete Carroll after the game, and he was just, you know, he's all piped up, and they got the win, and you know, they beat Russell Wilson. Some of those Seattle players that used to play, they're on the Broncos now, and so they got that win. Huge win for Seattle. Next week, they go out to play. I believe it is the Rams, if I'm not mistaken. They play the San Francisco 49ers. I'm sorry, they play the 49ers next game. So that'll be interesting with Trey Lance, even though they took a loss against the Bears in a very sloppy game. You know, so they only scored 10 points. San Francisco's got some things they need to work on. And this should be, you know, if the Seahawks go 2-0, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, I mean, their defense has played well, except Jamal Adams did get hurt, so they're waiting to hear back on that. But it's likely he's done for the year. Not officially confirming that. I'm just saying that from what I'm hearing, it's a very bad injury to his quad. So we'll see how that plays out. I'll update you guys with any news just when we get it. But he got hurt. But the defense played well for Seattle. The pass rush looked pretty good. The back end looked decent overall for 2 young corners starting out there, Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant. And I will shout out those guys because they did play well in their action the other night. Tariq Woolen, of course, he's a big dude, 6'4" and like 220 cornerback. You know, that Richard Sherman type of build, and they're hoping that he can manifest into that type of corner for the Seahawks, a guy who can knock you down. And you know, he's physical and he'll come up and tackle, and he's a kid that's not afraid to come up and tackle. So that's what you always like. And your coaches, when they look for their secondary players, you know, whether it's specifically the corners, you got to come up and make the tackle. You got to come up and be physical. You know, coaches, these scouts, these college scouts and NFL scouts, recruiters, you know, and they don't want guys who don't want to come up and make the tackle. Guys who want to play in coverage all day. You know, you want your guys to come up there, be physical. If the run breaks outside of contain, it's your play to make it, right? You know, but if you don't come up and make the tackle and it's a big game, that's on you, right? You know, so they're looking for guys that can come and do that, especially in Seattle and the defense they run. They've been running for years. They've always had those long, big corners, you know, who can come up there and are physical and get the ball carrier on the ground, right? And that's what they're looking for. And Tariq Woolen displayed that the other night. He had a bunch of tackles. You know, that's a few pass deflections. He just looked really well overall. So I want to shout him out for a great game the other night. But so moving on, the Chiefs and the Chargers we got on Thursday Night Football. Big AFC West showdown. The Chiefs won their first game against the Cardinals. Patrick Mahomes threw for 360 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. Of course, going off like he always does. And you know, they just had the Cardinals number all game, and the Cardinals just looked like a complete misfire. You know, and they just couldn't get anything going at all. And the Chiefs took advantage of that, and offensively they were able to move up and down the field with ease. And, you know, the big question going into the season for the Chiefs was, oh, man, they lost Tyreek Hill. How are they going to do without Tyreek Hill? Patrick Mahomes goes out there and says, nah, it's all right. No problem. You know, throws for 360 yards. Nothing much. You know, 360 yards, 5 touchdowns. No big deal. And then the Chargers won 24-19 against the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday. Big game for them in the AFC West. They get the win. Khalil Mack gets the win against his old team, sacks his old quarterback Derek Carr twice, and overall that defensive line looked really good. The secondary, you know, hopefully they can get J.C. Jackson back. They're hoping to have him back. We don't know if he's going to play or not on Thursday, but they're hoping to have him back pretty soon. And the receiving core, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, who will miss this game on Thursday night, by the way. So if you have him in fantasy, do not start Keenan Allen this week because he will be out. They're saying with the injury, so hopefully they're hoping to have him back the next following Sunday. So, but he'll be out. But overall, the Chargers look really good. The offense looked well. Justin Herbert threw for 279 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. He looked well, and he looks, like he's primed to have a big season. This is his 3rd year in the league, and he wants to get the Chargers over that hump that they have not been able to get over in years. They didn't get it done with Phillip Rivers, and they wanted to get it, and they haven't gotten it done so far with Justin Herbert. But the hope is that they can get that done pretty soon. And Brandon Staley, the head coach, being a defensive-minded guy, was a former defense coordinator for the Rams a few years ago, and he came over with that mindset. Hey, I want to make this defense one of the best defenses in the league. They didn't do that last year, but they've done it this year. Got a bunch of good players over, and they want to bolster that pass rush. They want to make sure that, hey, we want to make you earn every single inch. And that's what they, pretty much did to the Raiders. The Raiders, other than Devontae Adams having a good game with 7 receptions, 141 yards, and a touchdown, they couldn't get much going offensively. It was pretty hard, and that defense played really good. And I'm interested to see how that's going to happen against the Chiefs because the Chiefs are, as much firepower as they have. They have not played this Chargers team with all these defensive additions yet. With J.C. Jackson, or even though he might not play, but Khalil Mack is back in the AFC West. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams usually get the better of each other. It goes both ways. The Chargers won the first matchup, I believe, last year with the Chiefs in Arrowhead. So, and this one will be in Arrowhead. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Justin Herbert and Mike Williams and those guys, Austin Eckler on the ground, surprise people. The Chargers are a team that, hey, they want to. They want to make their name known, and they want to get out there, and they want to impress people. They want to go into the playoffs, into the Super Bowl, and they believe that they're a Super Bowl candidate team, but it's going to be hard in a really tough AFC. Not even mentioning the tough AFC West with the Broncos, even though they lost, but the Broncos, the Raiders, and, of course, the Chargers, right, and the Chiefs. So I think the Chiefs are going to end up taking this game just because of the firepower, but they have, and it's a little bit more than the Chargers, but I expect the Chargers to put up a fight still. So I guess my prediction this game might be 31-24, maybe 32-24 Chiefs. That's my prediction I'm going with, and I might be completely wrong, and it might be a blowout, or going both ways. Probably not, or it could just be like a 45-42 type of ball game with Justin Herbert throwing for like 400 yards, Patrick Mahomes throwing for 450 yards, and it's just one of those crazy type of games. It could be, but I have the Chiefs winning that game by a couple touchdowns. So overall, week 1 was pretty fun. A lot of teams getting back into the swing of things. Baker Mayfield almost beat his old team. He didn't get to do it. Almost did. And the Texans Colts tied 2020. Then that game, and Steelers got the best of the Bengals, so overall it's too early to tell. It's only been week 1 of the season, so you can't tell too much from the first game. But if you want to look so far at these teams, you're wondering, hey, these defenses are looking like they're getting better this year, and the AFC is stacked with teams. Buffalo right up there with Kansas City. The Bengals didn't look too good in the season opener. Can they get back on track in week 2? All these questions you got to ask, and they're playing the Cowboys, who will be without Dak Prescott for a couple weeks. With the ankle injury, or I'm sorry, not ankle injury, with the hand injury. So what are the Cowboys going to do? Are they going to bring in another quarterback? Cooper Rush is supposed to be the starter for right now, but what are they going to do? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. What's going on? Is who's going to win this Thursday night game between the Chiefs and the Chargers? And, let me know your opinion on Nathaniel Hackett and his coaching decision to kick a 64-yard field goal on 4th and 5 with one of the best quarterbacks in the league on the sideline. Let me know your thoughts on that. And you guys can catch that Thursday night game on Amazon Prime. So it's not going to be on Fox anymore. All those games will be on Amazon Prime. Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit will be on the call for that game, so that'll be interesting to see. And we have week 2 officially starts on Thursday Night Football. Los Angeles Chargers, Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead. That's going to be a thriller. So you guys don't want to miss it. Check it out. And thank you for listening here, watching on Jay's Fit Down Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jane Gay, and tune back in for more football content. Thank you.